Welcome to my very first episode of my podcast, Rise in Resilience. Today's special guests are Sachem alum Mark Ciaburri and Matt Riss. They are the founder and owner of ReDefine Meals. They are a meal prep company servicing Long Island and New York City. They started this business back in 2016, and they have grown to be the fastest growing meal prep company on the island. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, of course. So tell me how you guys got started in this business.
Yeah, so we started ReDefine Meals back in 2016. We were both college students. I was going to Brockport. Mark was going to Buffalo State. Mm-hmm. We were both athletes, and we kind of saw a need to start feeding athletes in more healthy ways. Mm-hmm. That was kind of where the business started. So once we realized that, we started talking over the phone. We actually both transferred back home. I enrolled in Stony Brook University and started the business on the same day. And then from there, basically we just did R&D on our products for about 4 months, and we landed our first deal with Stony Brook University in 2017, right in the beginning of the year. So like that's kind of the birth of ReDefine / X Factor Meals, which we'll get to, I'm sure.
Yes.
Exactly, yeah. So we started at Stony Brook University. We were feeding their athletes. We became a corporate partner with the university. And then from there, we realized we really had to just expand our horizon and focus on how we could feed more people. So from there, we looked at it like, okay, let's feed regular people, 9 to 5 people, people that work in an office that are stuck at home. So we said, why don't we do a meal prep company? And then from there, we just slowly built the website, slowly built the foundation up, and that's where we're at today.
Awesome. So how did you guys get started? Like, what was the first steps that you guys took?
Yeah, so we started at the Stony Brook Incubator, which is a kitchen out in Calverton. It's basically for startup companies to use a big, 4,000 square foot facility.
Wow.
The thing is, you can't process meat there. So our first sale we ever made was our protein snacks, our cookies, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So we landed that deal with Stony Brook at that kitchen, and that was kind of like our branding, but we weren't making any profit off of that. So that's when we started the meal prep company. And we found a local kitchen that we could renovate, and we kind of started working out of that. Mm-hmm. And me and Mark were cooking all the food in the beginning, and we were delivering, in our Honda Accords, delivering 60, 70 meals a week. At the time, we felt like we were killing it, not even realizing that we weren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. The fact that you guys were willing to do that, like just hop in your car and just deliver and do what you had to do, like from the beginning. That's like, passion. Like you guys really wanted people to try your meals.
Yeah, it's strange. From the beginning, it felt so real to us. Like, there was never a moment. I mean, there was a few, but there was never really a real moment that lasted where we said this might not work out. Mm-hmm. This just felt like our future from the very conception of it at the time. That's just what it felt like. Mm-hmm. So,
and like things were falling in line, you know what I mean? Like the universe was acting in certain ways where it was like, all right, just keep following the path and things will get better. And they did, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. So at what point did you guys realize, all right, we want to take this to storefronts?
Yeah, so I mean, that storefront didn't really happen for almost 2 to 3 years into the business. We were just growing online. That was like our main bread and butter. We grew it from just me and Mark cooking the food to hiring cooks, getting me and Mark out of the production of the company, and then we could kind of start steering the ship, on a more macro level.
Right.
Yeah. And that's when we realized the store made sense. So that's kind of why we dialed into Lake Grove, and that's when we saw it.
Yeah.
Our first goal was really to grow the e-commerce business, grow a large platform, grow a large customer base, have a lot of people that love the company, know the name, and understand what we do and what we are. And then from there, we said, you know what? We have a lot of clients in Corn. We have a lot of clients in Center Reach. A lot of our clients are in Lake Grove. And we figured out, okay, where are these clients located? Let's make their lives easier to buy our product, and we'll pop open stores in those areas. So we spent years laying the groundwork of building these clients. We didn't just open a random store and say, let's try to show people what we are now.
Right.
We had our e-commerce site up, and people were buying off our website for 2 or 3 years before we opened up a store. And that's why when we opened up the store, it was instantly so successful. And this is why we're scaling the model now, because we already have these clients. We're not looking to gain clients. We are gaining clients, of course. But these stores are going to be successful with or without new clients just based on our existing clientele.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just giving that option to people, if they did run out of some meals, they want to pop in, they can come.
Yeah, exactly.
So Lake Grove was the first one, and that happened in August of 2020.
Yep.
Which is crazy. While we were going through a pandemic, you guys were opening up a business.
Yeah, it was challenging because we also did the rebrand. While we signed the lease and then we had the pandemic hit and we had to rebrand the company. So we changed from X Factor Meals to ReDefine Meals during that time.
Right.
Which was obviously challenging, but yeah, we opened that in August.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So you guys were formerly known as X Factor, and then you rebranded into Redefine. Tell me exactly what happened with that.
Yeah, I mean, so we filed a trademark at 19.
Okay.
Obviously, a little bit of naiveness that kind of propelled us forward. But
Okay.
we faced a lawsuit that we could have fought, but we saw a easier path of just rebranding and kind of generalizing us from less sports specific to more like generalized health and nutrition. And we found the Redefine mark, which we obviously trademarked now. And it was like a real big learning curve, but it was like a
Absolutely.
2-month period that was super stressful trying to figure out a name and
Yeah.
like redoing the whole process while trying to grow the business at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a learning curve for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. The fact that you guys were willing to just walk away from that.
Yeah.
You knew that no matter what your name was, people were going to follow you.
Yeah, well, we were left with a choice. Not to cut you off, we were left
Yeah.
with a choice because there was 2 options. It was either we fight the lawsuit, minimum $200,000, or we rebrand, cost us $50,000. So we weren't going to let our ego take us away from all that amount of
Right.
money. You know what I mean?
Smart.
It wasn't
Yeah.
worth it at that time. And we liked our name at the start because in a sports-specific niche at Stony Brook and Hofstra, these universities, and trying to vend at large tournaments, the name X Factor popped. Sounds good. But that name, we didn't really love it for where our business had become and where it was going. We thought a more generalized name, something like Redefine Clean, we decided, we'll go in that direction. We like it better anyway. Let's bite the bullet. And the main thing was just informing our clients that X Factor is now Redefine, making sure they understand that that's the same company. There's not new owners. There's not new employees. It's not new meals. It's the same thing. It's just a new name that we had to do. So, I mean, we did a pretty good job of it. We lost almost no business, and we grew right through it. It ended up not hurting us. We were nervous at the time, but it ended up not hurting us at all. If anything, it's helped. So.
Yeah, we turned a negative to a positive, That's what you got to do.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why you guys are, successful.
Yep.
So how many employees did you guys have when you first started versus how many do you have now?
It's a good question. So when we first started, it was just Matt and I.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It was just us. It was just the 2 of us. It took probably 6 or 7 months for us to realize we're going to have to make a hire.
Yeah.
At the time, we started the business with very little money. It was basically the only cost was our time. It took probably about 6 or 7 months to hire the first employee. Then from there, we hired 2 or 3 after that. And then we stayed at around that level for a while. And then every single year, we bring on employees as we need them to meet volume and to make sure that the kitchen's not too busy and that everyone can handle their role. And to this point, we have 25 employees.
Yeah.
Wow.
So in the beginning, we had friends that helped out. My parents. A bunch of people helped out in the beginning that weren't real employees that just wanted to see us be successful.
Right.
But it was just me and Mark in the beginning. It was brutal,
Yeah.
but we got through it.
It's
Obviously.
That's
probably 80 to 90 hours a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Probably
Yeah.
consistently for no pay.
And
for
like
about a year.
And it was that time we were 23, 22 years old. So it was like right when you're in college, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like a big commitment to pull away from, the partying and the
Absolutely.
social aspect of life and just kind of dial in and
Yeah.
see the vision, the big picture through that time. So that was definitely challenging.
Yeah.
A lot of people always described it as like we took this huge amount of risk. I don't know. I just never felt like that. It just never felt like I was risking anything. That's just how I felt. I felt like it was always worth my time, and I always thought it was getting somewhere
Yeah.
good. So
And it was because we were so young. When you're young and you don't have commitments and family and mortgage and all that stuff, you can go and take a risk.
Yeah,
Because
it's
if you
some-
lose, you're just kind of back where everyone else is at
That's
that
it.
age. So
exactly.
Yeah.
We saw that,
And then
and
there's
we-
also the risk reward versus like, okay, now you have a 4 or 5 year degree that you've invested $100,000 and $80,000 in whatever you spent to go away to school. It's like if you have that money back, you want to get some utility out of that degree versus just throwing it away and saying, now I'll start a business, but you're already 100 back.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like we were at that time where we were thinking in the future when Matt was at Brockport and I was at Buffalo. I remember I called Matt and I was just like,
Mark
to
woke
be
me up.
honest with you, like I'm looking at these loans, dude, and they just don't make sense. Because I was thinking, okay, I was studying dietetics and nutrition. I said, best case scenario. If I don't start my own business in that field, best case scenario, 60, 70 a year. That was what I had felt. I was like, that was my best case scenario. And I was like, yeah, but if I'm back 80 or 90, I'm not going to be out of debt till I'm 35 off of school loan. And I was just like, there's not much money in the field.
Right.
And then Matt has a similar.
Yeah, I remember the conversation. Like Mark, I will give Mark credit for the rest. Like he woke me up to where I was going. Like I was going down a path to be a PA or a physical therapist, and I would put myself back $150,000 by the time I was done. So it was just like he woke me up, and then that's kind of when I had the idea for the business.
And there's nothing wrong with that. We're not saying there's anything wrong with
Right.
that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's definitely the smarter route for most situations.
Right.
It took a lot of luck for us to get where we are. It took a lot of work first. I mean, luck only bets on people in motion, obviously, but it did take some luck with that motion, you know. So
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So at that point, you guys did take that risk, and your friends were out partying. They were experiencing college. Did you guys get like backlash? Did you get people saying like, "What are you doing? This is..."
No. I would say almost
That's good.
everyone that I was around was so supportive. You
That's
know what I
good.
mean? And like,
Yeah.
they didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. They were like, they didn't understand
Right.
it, but they supported it. You know what I mean? I don't have any backlash or anything
That's good.
negative like that.
I would say from friends, I didn't receive much backlash, but definitely at the very, very beginning, when I had first told my parents and my grandmother, and when I had told them I decided I was gonna drop out of school and chase the business, they definitely pushed back at that idea.
Yeah.
But at the end
Same.
of the day, I made
Yeah.
my own decision. I was
Yeah.
like, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
You can accept it or don't.
Right.
This is what I'm doing. This is what I want to do, and that's what I did.
I said, give me a year, and then in a year we can decide
Yeah.
if I made the right decision. And we never looked back from there.
Yeah.
So,
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was just following your gut. You know what I mean? Following
Right.
the feeling inside you.
Yeah,
so.
you're following your passion. You
Yeah,
know?
sure. It's like if I want to go back to school, I'll go back in 2 years.
Right.
This,
No big
this
deal.
fall's short. Okay. Now I'm
it.
out of school at 25 instead of 23 or 24, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
So that was
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
So
Actually, not to cut you off, a funny story.
good.
The biggest pushback I ever had for business versus school was I was in I was taking like regular classes at Suffolk, and I remember I had this one professor that had just grown so sick of me in the business, and he was just mad at me for some reason. The guy hated me. And what had happened was the same day that we would deliver, I had his class in the morning, so I always was left with the choice. Do I go to this guy's class? And it was like a music 101, some course I don't need to take.
Yeah.
It was just an electorate, so you have to take a certain amount of them. And I remember it was either deliver our packages or go to his class. And at the beginning of the semester, I was like, maybe I'll go to his class and then deliver. And then by the end of the semester, I wasn't going to his class. I was just delivering packages. And then at the end of the semester, he said, listen, if you don't come to the last class, I will fail you. And I said, okay, if you feel it's necessary to fail me, then fail me.
Wow.
And then I didn't go, and then he called me. He goes, I decided to let you come and take the final test, and if you pass it, I'll pass you. And he passed me.
Oh, wow.
And that class finished out my 2-year degree. So
Okay.
it was important at the time.
Right. That's so funny. So you opened up Lake Grove in August,
Yep.
and then you opened up Syosset, which was
Middle of November.
November.
Yep.
Okay, and then Colmac is coming soon.
Colmac, yeah. Hopefully within the next week and a half, we're thinking.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then any other ones you guys are...
Yeah, so this is actually the first time we're announcing this, but Belmore, we just signed a lease for that location, so we're hoping to do
Wow.
that by the middle of March. We actually
Yeah.
started working on that already. So
Right on Merrick Road. It's a good spot.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I think
Merrick
it's gonna be
Road.
busy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're excited for that.
Congrats, that's amazing.
Thank you.
So in 6 months, you guys opened up, or going to be open up 4 different storefronts.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
See, it seems like it's amazing, but the way I would look at it is more of like I'm back due to owing myself these stores that I should have opened up a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Okay.
We
Fair
have the
enough.
infrastructure laid out. Like we're selling at a pretty high volume now that the overhead for these stores is already covered.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we're adding these stores that we realistically could have added a year and a half, 2 years ago. But now that we're like, let's just go. We
Yeah.
have it covered. We have the volume. We have the clients. We have
Right.
the staff. We
Yeah.
understand how it works. We have the providers for everything we need. The stores are really inexpensive to open. The overhead's really low.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like these stores need to operate at some ridiculous volume to break even or pull a profit. They just
Right.
have to see a couple people a day and it would be fine. So for us, it's like it was a no-brainer to
Right.
just get the ball
It's like a
rolling.
marketing expense. You know?
Yeah.
Get people in the door, try the product, and grow the brand. So
Yeah.
we're excited.
Yeah, because once you get them in the door, they're hooked. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
because then
yeah.
they're gonna start ordering. They're gonna do a subscription or
Well, the thing with meal prep is people are still learning about what actual meal prep is.
Mm-hmm.
But once people do it, they realize how much time they save. You know how easy it is and
Yeah.
how good the product is. You know
It's
what I mean?
true.
So it's cool. It's cool
Yeah.
to see people learn and get hooked. You know?
yeah. As a former
Yeah, it is.
athlete,
That's
that's the hardest thing is like keeping up with the nutrition.
Yeah.
So it's the fact that you guys give a good product. You know, your meals are the best. I've tried a few. It's funny, and anytime I'm in Lake Grove or Syosset, I always pop in and I'll get like a stack of your meals and I bring them home, and my fiance gets like so excited because it's like it tastes good. Like you look forward to them.
For sure.
So with that being said, what is your favorite meals?
Oof. I love tacos in general, so I'm gonna go probably the carne asada tacos right now.
It changes a lot because I eat this almost every day. I eat it every single day, probably twice a day. But my favorite right now is probably the Mongolian beef. That's a good dish.
That's my fiance's favorite.
Yeah, that's
he loves
good.
that.
Plain mignon tips. It's tender.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah.
I love the salmon. A few years ago, I gave up meat. I was only eating fish. Okay. So I always try to I'm not a big red meat person, but I enjoy it occasionally. But the salmon
hits.
Yeah, it definitely does.
That's my family's favorite. The salmon. Yeah.
So what's really cool about the different options that you guys provide is your bulk options. So in the world that we live in, everyone's learning about meal prepping and the importance of nutrition and learning about their macros and everything like that. So how did you guys come up with that idea to provide that?
So ReDefine tries to make a product that appeals to everyone. That's kind of our motto and kind of what we try to do when we're designing the menu. So we want to appeal to that person working 9 to 5 that just wants to eat a portion controlled meal and enjoy it. But we also want to appeal to that bodybuilder, that CrossFit athlete, that athlete that needs to eat specific, structured diet. So we do the bulk options, which they can eat exactly to their diet that they need. You know what I mean? So that's the big thing with ReDefine is we just try to appeal to everyone. That's kind of our motto.
The main issue, to piggyback off that, the main issue we were having was constantly people hit us up, oh, can you do my custom macros? Can you do my exact fat, carb, and protein for a dish? And it sounds like, oh, that's not bad, make the 10, 15 meals. The problem is when you have 50, 60, 100 clients who all want to do that, the amount of time it takes to put it down on the line and weigh out every single one custom to their order, it's
challenging.
There's smaller companies that do it, but when you're at scale, there's not much money in it because the amount of time it takes. It's frustrating. So we said, okay, if we do the bulk options, people can weigh out themselves.
Right.
We'll just sell our carb sources, our protein sources, and our veggies in bulk containers, and people could just assemble it themselves at their home.
We provide the tool. You know what I mean? That's kind of what we try to do. So
people have no excuse not to eat healthy.
There you go.
That's it. So what's the process of releasing a new meal? What do you guys have to do?
Yeah, so that's basically the part of the business that I really enjoy. That's fun for me. That's it's work, but it's fun. You know what I mean? So what I'll do is I'll just do some research. I'll look up online, or if I go to a restaurant and I enjoy a meal I eat, I'm constantly thinking, how could I recreate this a little more healthy? And then you slowly just get better at it. You start to learn what most people like. You realize what most people's palates can handle, what type of dishes people are more attracted to. And then from there, if I try a recipe I like, I'll talk to our providers, see if they have ingredients I can source that are similar to what was in the recipe I liked. I'll recreate it, and then I'll go in the kitchen. I'll snap some photos of it once I make it. I usually have it for lunch right after. And then
the photos and everything.
We do the macros in-house, and then we basically just throw it up on the website, and then people start ordering it.
Market it,
So you take those photos?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we do it all
It's honestly right on the iPhone. The new iPhone. The camera's just as good as a professional.
It's true.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It's all in-house. Everything's
in-house. I was
going to
ask you guys, who does the photography and
We
stuff
actually do
that.
have a few people who do some photography for us. The new options, I tend to just do those photos myself because I have the phone and it's easy that way.
Right.
But we do have a couple different people that come in. A girl named Gabby who runs Eating Long Island, this Instagram page in our area. She'll do some photos for us, and then we have a couple other people we work with. We have Sam.
Yeah, Black Sail Productions. So we try to be on the cutting edge of media, photos, and all of that because we just want to portray that we care. You know what I mean? So you could take shortcuts and do it all yourself, but we're trying to portray something that's high quality. And
right.
We care about the food, so we want to care about what content we're leaving. You know what I mean?
You guys do an amazing job at that. The photography, the marketing, the consistency with your Instagram, your videos, it shows that you guys care. This is your life. This is your love, your passion.
For sure.
And it definitely shows.
Yeah. Well, it's never going to be perfect, but it's how close can we get to that? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's never we're oh, I'll never look at that and be oh, we're done. We're set. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're
Once you
perfect
do that,
now.
You're behind.
Once you do that, every single day after that, you fall more and more back.
Yeah.
That's true.
So you're just trying to constantly get a little bit better. Okay, what can I do today to make us a little bit better than we were yesterday? And if you we always say the key is having good days, getting momentum, having good weeks, having a good month, turning into a good quarter, turning into a good year, then turning into 2. And then all of a sudden you catch that momentum and it's that's what we learned. I always think to myself, year 1, we were naive. Year 2, we learned. Year 3, we were humbled.
Yeah,
Right?
humbled,
When we checked out of the business, and the business was still successful and people were enjoying the meals, but we stopped growing.
Yeah.
But the overhead kept growing. So our overhead was growing, but our sales were stagnant. So we went from a really successful company, or not really successful, average small business doing okay,
Right.
to like not doing as great. And then in year 4, we were like, okay, we have to dive back into this thing and get the momentum back. And then year 4, we caught that. And then
business is a lot of momentum. You know what I mean? And I've learned that from just the experience. But like if you, like Mark said, you string together a couple of days, and then all of a sudden those turn to weeks to months, and then all of a sudden you can look back and be like 6 months, we just pushed 100% growth or something
Right.
like that. So
Absolutely.
that's really what we've been thinking. If you can think, break things down micro to move towards a macro goal, that's like when you start really doing things.
It's so true. Once the momentum like falls and you like get like into a rut, it's so hard to get it back going.
It's much easier to fall off and not and not have that momentum than it is to keep it. But what we've learned is there's things you can do. Like when we first started, be like, let's just do 18 hours a day. Let's not stop. We're going to think about this. If you don't pace yourself, you're going to burn out.
Oh, yeah.
You're better off putting in 10 to 12 a day than you are putting in 18 for 4 in a row and none for 3 in a row.
Right.
So
Sure.
you just have to keep it. Like there will be times that we're in the mood to do something. It's like, okay, like the 12 hours is in today. The
Right.
14 hours is in today. That'll be done tomorrow because
Yeah.
we have to check out, or else the next morning we're not going to want to check in.
Oh, absolutely. The burnout is real.
Yeah.
Like
But
if
that's
you-
what we did. We burnt out for a couple months for
And
sure.
it wasn't like we
Yeah.
were doing things like, okay, let's just do all this marketing. It was just like we physically had to be there, or people were not going to get a meal the next day. So it was like,
Yeah.
at the very beginning,
So how do you guys like balance like work and life and everything like that?
We've definitely gotten better as time's gone on. You know what I mean? It's still definitely something I struggle with, and like I think you constantly struggle with that because
Always.
it's like balancing growth versus balancing your happiness. Not even that, but like just balancing everything. You know what I mean? So I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a
but-
learning process.
yeah,
For me
sure.
too.
Yeah.
It's
For our business, I feel like we're in a situation now where we're blessed. We have a lot of the guys we've had for 2 or 3 years now. They understand the business. Like we have people that are really capable on our staff. We have a couple kitchen guys who've been with us from the beginning, and then they basically manage the rest of the guys that came in after them. We have a couple guys that do the packaging, the routing, the logistics. They've been here for years, so they understand. From the beginning, we did a good job of hiring out levels beneath us.
Yeah.
So as money came in, instead of pocketing it, we just reinvested into the company.
That's huge.
So basically, we were able to hire out of all day-to-day tasks. Like in terms of production, we're not really working on the line. We're not flipping chicken really, so to speak, anymore. At times we will, but so to
Right.
speak, we don't.
Hardly ever. Customer
Hardly ever.
service, logistics,
Yeah.
everything's basically hired out of. Like I said, me
Yeah.
and Mark are just kind of like that macro force of the business,
Right.
Yeah.
trying to grow it the right ways and just figure out the method. You know what I mean? So-
Yeah, well, that's the only way you can really scale this
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
where you want to be. You can't do it all.
And enjoy it. Yeah.
And enjoy it. Yeah, you
exactly.
have to find those people that you trust
Yep.
that is going to run it the way you guys,
Yeah.
want.
A lot of people from the beginning would say like, they would be like, oh, like what are you doing today? I'd be like, oh, I'm actually taking the day, and they're like, oh, well, the kitchen's running. I'm like, yeah, but if the kitchen's running, the kitchen's running. Like
Right.
my job is to grow the company.
Right.
Like the point, like my point being is that like, if I was still working the line, right? If I was still on the line cooking in the kitchen or delivering, would we be able to open 2 stores in a month
Absolutely
or 4
not.
stores in 6
Yeah.
months? You wouldn't be able to do it.
Right.
So you're trying to save pennies, but you're leaving hundreds going out the door because you're not growing.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like. There's some
Smart.
people that are stuck in that. They want to be there.
It's tough to break.
They
out of that.
can't.
Yeah.
They want to be there all day, every day, or else
Right.
they think something's going to go wrong. You
Right.
have to just assume your guys are doing a good job,
Right.
and then if it falls on its face, it's something you did wrong, and you have
Right.
to hire smarter and better or more people.
It's true.
And learn.
And learn, yeah.
That's it.
And you got to like let go of the control.
Yeah.
You can't be in all your stores watching it. You just trust the process.
If
That's
we wanted to be at the stores every hour they operate, we would only be able to own 2 stores.
Right.
That's the problem.
So,
Exactly.
So right there, argument done.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. You have to try. The argument's done. There's no
Yeah.
there's no scalability to it.
Right.
The whole point of this is to grow something that's super scaled out to the
Mm.
point where it could run itself and bring in some kind of passive income for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole goal. So,
Love it.
and then maybe Amazon rolls us out.
So you guys recently partnered with a a local charity. So tell me more about that.
yeah. So the month of February, we actually cut back our whole marketing budget.
Wow.
And decided to just donate that marketing budget in meals to local charities. So we did was it Mission Lighthouse?
Yeah, Mission Lighthouse.
And then
Okay.
we've worked with Orange Theory in the past too to local deliver to like local healthcare. So we drop meals at Stony Brook University, all these big hospitals during the pandemic. So we've been
Wow.
trying to just give back as much as we can.
I love that.
And they enjoy a fresh meal. Like a lot of the
Yeah.
meals they got donated during the pandemic weren't healthy. So like when we were giving them something that made them feel good, they were definitely appreciative of it.
Yeah,
So it was
that's-
pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was like,
For a while, our Instagram and Facebook ads budget, Google ads budget had grown so much. It was like such a large amount of money. I just looked at it and said, 1 month of this, we can donate over 1,000 meals easily, probably 2 times over. So we just said, you know what, let's cut it for a month. It wasn't really providing great returns. Let's do a social media post and see if people will share the fact that we're donating our money, which is our meals,
Right.
instead of giving it to Instagram and Facebook, reshare this post to give us some of the same buzz that we would have gotten if we put the money into Facebook. And people
Right.
were super receptive. We made an Instagram post, we got
Oh,
a ton
yeah.
of likes, all these comments, so many shares. So we were like, you know, it worked out. We're feeding people that need it, and at the same time, maybe in a few months we'll go back and we'll get back on Instagram and Facebook ads because we do have to grow the company in order to do things like that. So
Right. I love that.
that was cool. Yeah, it's cool.
I admire that. That's really cool. So, what is the biggest reward you guys would say for being an entrepreneur?
I just like seeing like the growth, you know, as a person, but also seeing the company grow and like kind of seeing people enjoy the product, enjoy the business, and it's just fun looking back and kind of like thinking of the future and kind
Right.
of trying to figuring out. I just enjoy it. I kind of look at it as like a game. Business
Yeah.
is a game. So
Yeah.
I'm playing the game. That's all.
I love that.
it's nice seeing where you were, where you thought you'd be versus where you end up. I also like that if you work a typical 9 to 5, you know, you're paid this for X amount of time. Then if you perform to this level, you paid this for X amount of time. For us, like our ceiling is really what we're willing
Yeah.
to let it become or make it become.
Yeah.
So like that's also an exciting part for me. And then probably the third main thing is like it's nice when you're doing well as an individual, but when you're able to put on for other people who work for you, who've been loyal to you for a long time, who do a good job, and you're able to pay them more than they should be getting paid and buy them things when they deserve it, that's a good feeling
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
that's definitely a good part of it.
Yeah.
And then long term, obviously the goal of any business owner is to acquire, you know, a decent amount of passive income where you're not really putting much work in, but you're getting
Right.
paid for a lot of other people's time while you're still paying them, of
Absolutely.
course. So then that's probably the long-term goal is the passive income.
Yeah, I agree. I have that same mindset, and some people are okay with the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You know that they like the comfort.
The security.
Yeah. But knowing that the opportunities are literally endless, like this, there's no ceiling. Like that's what gets me out of bed every day. And
Yeah.
same for you guys. Like it's just a certain person, certain mindset, and some people have it and some people don't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love connecting with people that they just get it.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
So who has been the most influential for you guys?
I don't think I have like one person that's been influential. Like there's hundreds of people that I've talked to, and I'm always like trying to take one or two things from everyone I meet. So I couldn't drop names, but I've learned from countless amounts of people, just small little things that I always take with me. And you never know when you're going to use it or when it's going to work for you. So I couldn't drop one specific person.
Okay.
I tend to feel like what I do a lot of times is I'll take on someone else's mindset that I look up to. So like if someone that I look up to has a certain mindset, I'll take on that mindset and I'll be time stamped inside that time. You know what I mean? So I'll remember like when we were 19, 20 years old starting out, there was Gary Vee, who was like this big motivator, this influencer. Now I look back at the videos and I'm like, really, Mark? It's like he's a successful guy and he's cool and everything, but like I understand why that kind of mentality would burn you out. It's not for everyone. It's for him. It's not for me.
Right.
And then in my early 20s through to now, I've adopted a mindset. I really like Russ, the hip-hop artist. I really like his mindset of like, I'm just going to do me. I'll do it myself. I'll prove to everyone else on myself that I could do this. So I like his mindset. But I mean, there's a lot of different people. There's a lot of different people that like I've looked up to probably who've taught me a lot over time. And like Matt said, cumulative, we take something from everyone we meet. You can learn something from everyone kind of thing.
Exactly. So. Like I've learned stuff without even realizing it, just meeting certain people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
And sometimes it's not like, sometimes what you're learning is not what to do, it's what not to do.
Yeah.
I would say we've probably learned more of like what not to do through
yeah.
people than we've probably learned of what to do, which sounds bad.
100%.
I've been thinking about it in my head. I'm just like, that makes sense. I'm just like, okay, well, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Check the box off. That's
Yeah.
a a million things you can do.
Right.
There's a million things that are probably bad, but if you hit the one that's good, okay, so let's weed out all the bad ones first, and then we'll make the good decisions after.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you guys have sponsored athletes. You guys have partnerships. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we have a few sponsored athletes. The biggest one is Chris Harris, who's an OG. He's been with us since we were driving around in Hondas delivering meals, like we said. He's a super big in the CrossFit industry and competes at nationals and all that type of stuff. And we also work with Dalton Crossan. He's been like a sales rep for us, and he just signed with the PLL, so he's going to play professional lacrosse.
That.
Yeah.
Congrats, Dalton.
And then those are like our two real sponsored athletes that we kind of work with, and then we also work with Orange Theory, which is a gym, but they have 16 or 17 locations throughout the island.
Wow.
And it's been a super successful partnership both ways, where we can benefit their clients with discounts, free samples and stuff like that, and they've helped us really get the brand out there. So,
that's great.
Yeah, shout out Orange Theory.
Yeah. I've never actually taken one of their classes. I've been wanting to.
I have. It's
crazy,
it's
right?
a good workout.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good workout. High intensity. Gets you on the treadmill and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. So what advice would you guys give someone who wants to pursue a similar career path?
I would say the first thing is just to do it. If you start, because like if we look back at like, and this is just our small little 4 or 5 year story and what we've done. We haven't tried other businesses and we haven't done that much. This is our baby and what we've grown. But from my experience, if you start, that's your best bet. Because once you start, the idea you start with might not always be the idea it's going to evolve into. So if you're constantly thinking, what do I want the company to be in 5 years before you even start? It's kind of a waste of time. Like you want to have a business plan written out and make sense of it so you can track your progress along the way. But realistically, I think starting, getting going, and just saying this is what I'm doing, whether it's part-time, full-time, 10 hours a week, 2 hours a day, whatever it is, do it. And then from there, you'll see where it takes you.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really exactly what I would say. Start, and then it's like, it's finding a little niche. It can be something, it's just going 0 to 1. Like that, the hardest thing is just to start and get that first one. So we found a stupid little niche in a university to feed, protein cookies to the men's basketball team. Yeah. But that confidence and that feeling of making that first sale made us go get that second, that third, and that fourth. So it's just getting that first little sale. Yeah. And it's like, it's more not even just a business thing. It's kind of like a life thing where it's like, okay, now I know that I can make a sale to anyone that I want in the future. So it's just like, we started with protein cookies, but you can start with anything. You know what I mean? So that's my advice is start, just go for it.
When we first started, it was basically just Stony Brook University, and our goal as a company was to sell them protein cookies, protein cereal, and then we wanted to do like vending at like large sports tournaments. So we'd go there, we'd sell wraps and whatever we could sell to people that were just at these large tournaments. That was our business model. That was our plan. That's what we wanted to do. And then quickly we realized, okay, this isn't sustainable. You can't build a business off a seasonal clientele like that. So we were like, okay, what else can we do? And at the time, meal prep was just starting to get some momentum. So we decided to hop on that.
Yeah, so just start and then figure it out. Like your naiveness is your friend. Like you not knowing should make you feel more confident almost because if you know what it really takes, you're probably not going to do it. So like if we knew what we had to do to actually make a profitable business, there's no way we would have ever started. But our naiveness helped us get to where we are now.
When we started, if we said we have to sell X amount of meals, we have to employ X amount of people, we have to open X amount of stores, we have to get X amount of trucks, we need X amount of credit. If we would have said that when we started, we would have just said this is unattainable, we're not going to do it. But when you're already 2/3 of the way through the book, you might as well finish it. That's kind of, you know what I mean, at that point.
Start, for sure.
Yeah. So what's the ultimate goal? Like, where do you guys see yourselves going? Where do you see the business going?
I mean, our goal, I mean, I don't think we have a clear picture of it. We know we want to take over Long Island, which we're in the process of doing. We want to expand regionally, you know what I mean? So like just get to more areas, the city, Boston, all those type of areas, and see what we can do from there. We're not obviously closing the door on anything or opening the door on anything, but we just want to make as big of a company as we can. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we're living a life that's not overdoing it. You know what I mean? Like an enjoyable way to make an income and growing and enjoying what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I think right now we're kind of in like that grind phase. You know what I mean? Where we've been growing at a decent rate, and now we're at the point where it's like, okay, the infrastructure's set. Like this thing is ready to go. You know what I mean? We have the staff we need. We have the trucks we need. We have basically everything we need. We're just ready to scale production, and that's going to come with a lot of work. So we got to get these stores open. We got to keep going in that direction. the goal would really, we have the two. We have the one in Lake Grove, one in Syosset. We're opening the one in Comac and Belmore within the next 2 weeks each. And then from there, it's as long as the store model proves successful over time, keep opening the stores. Eventually move into a bigger facility where we can produce more meals, fit more staff, grow the company. I think it's try to endless scale, and then at some point, how can we turn this thing into just passive income?
Right.
That's the goal long term, and then at that point, diversify our assets.
Yep.
In terms of like a financial, in terms of like what we want to do with like the business itself, with our lives, I think we just want to keep a certain amount of free time that we have for ourselves. We could do whatever we want with.
Right.
I don't want the business to position me in a spot where if I really want to go fly fishing in the Rockies for a weekend, I can't go because I'm stuck here.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? We never want to pinhole ourselves.
Just
like
want to
that.
keep that freedom always.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's like the reason people become entrepreneurs is like you want to be successful, you want to give a good product or you want to give a good service, but you also want that time freedom. You want that, income to
For
be
sure.
able to live like a much larger life and to do things, that most people don't do.
Yeah, and we're still at the point now where we're sacrificing some of that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because that's
But
just
yeah,
where we're at. But
we're
we
25 too, so
Yeah.
that's the way we look at it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
24. He's stealing years.
Oh,
now.
yeah, 24 still. I hate that I'm older than him. But yeah, we just
babies.
look at it that we're young, so we can keep,
Oh my God.
work now and relax later, enjoy it later. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I love you guys. I admire you. And I love that we are Sachem alum.
Yeah, hell
And
yeah.
I'm always rooting for you guys. So tell people how they can find you, connect with you, order from you.
Yeah, so I mean, our Instagram is probably the best way to connect
Okay.
at ReDefine Meals.
Okay.
And our website link's right on there. It's redefinemeals.com. You can order online. And like we said, we deliver 3 times a week right now to all of Long Island and parts of the city.
Okay.
And then obviously we have the stores. So the stores are open 10 to 7 every weekday. We have one in Lake Grove, Syosset. We're overdoing this. Syosset, we're opening Comac and Belmore next week.
Okay.
So that's, if you want to try us, we're trying to cover the whole island. So you can come get us
Yes.
anywhere you at.
Yeah.
Yes, guys, go try their meals. They are amazing. You won't regret it. And you'll never, ever try another meal prep company ever again. I promise you. Guys, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Good luck. And I'm going to come into Comac and Belmore. I'm
Awesome.
super pumped. Thank you,
Appreciate
guys.
it. Thanks for having
Thank you.
us.
Of course. Thank you.